Hello everyone, and welcome to the Q30 Sports Hockey Weekend Preview. I'm Gabbi Riggi. Once the schedule was released, calendars were marked, and tickets were all scooped up. Finally, the most anticipated weekend for the Bobcats is here. It's Yale weekend. We have two of Quinnipiac's best hockey minds, Mark Spillane and Marty Joseph. Gentlemen, how are you?
That's pretty flattering, best hockey mind.
Why did he get to go first? Why would I choose first?
It makes sense. I think I should always go first.
All right,
we're great,
guys.
though. We're great.
Let's jump right in. Quinnipiac is 6-1-3 in their last 10 games, with the last game between these two teams ending in a 2-2 tie. With the win, the Bobcats have the chance to clinch the Cleary Cup, as the ECAC regular season champions. Though there's a lot of hype around this game, what do you think the impact of this game actually has for this team?
I just think if you ask anyone on this team, they're just going to say it's just another game, and it's just another game against Yale. I don't think they really are worried about the Cleary Cup until it's won or it's clinched. I think they're more focused on just taking it game by game. Travis St. Dennis said at the end of last weekend's game against Clarkson, they just want to play playing their best hockey heading into the playoffs. So I think it's just another home game in their schedule right now. They got 4 games left to finish out the schedule on a high note and get into the ECAC playoffs.
I think Marty's right. It's kind of funny. It seems like the hype is mostly surrounding the fans and the students, and not so much the team. But on the ice, it's going to be a great match. You mentioned the 2-2 tie last time, and I honestly think that we're going to see something similar. I think it should be a good one.
All right, now even though the stats don't normally show it, Quinnipiac has had some struggles in the first period, as we've seen these past couple weekends. What about the first 20 minutes you think the team has to change in order to get off on a better start than they had the past few games? You know,
it's something that jumps out to me, and Marty, I don't know if you'll agree with this, but we typically see that this team plays well over a long period of time. And that's why they're tough to beat weekend in, weekend out. It's hard to sweep this team because it's hard to get them to play off their game 2 games in a row, and that's why it's hard to beat them in the playoffs. So I think a lot of the times they come out and they just haven't established the rhythm that they're used to in the first period, and then after about 15, 20 minutes into the game, sometimes a little bit longer, they start generating those turnovers in the neutral zone. They start getting through the neutral zone and getting into the offensive zone, and then it's lights out from there usually for the opponent.
Yeah, it's exactly what it's been like this entire season. It takes them about 15 to 20 minutes to get going. They play better towards the end of that first period. You look at their stats all season long, they've taken over games in the second period, and then they just shut down teams like they've done in the past. So I just think it could be a little bit of the youth, it could be a little bit more of the younger forwards, but once they get that flow going, once they find a way to get in those scoring areas, they get through neutral zones easier, that's when they start playing their best hockey. I mean, you look at it, Clarkson and St. Lawrence, 2 games that are pretty easy because they're both the most recent games. They dominated Clarkson those final 40 minutes, and as soon as they got the pucks to the net, they found ways to get scoring opportunities against St. Lawrence. They took over that game as well. That game was a little bit more back and forth, but it's a really tough team to beat when it comes down to that final 20 minutes or final 30 minutes of a game.
All right, now Yale's defense is known around the league as being one of the best in the nation for both their top team goals against average and for the play of sophomore goaltender Alex Lyon. However, in ECAC play, Quinnipiac has the better goals against average, both in conference play. So with that, what do you guys expect from both the goaltenders and the defense for Yale and for Quinnipiac?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because this is kind of the first time that both teams have been very strong defensively. Yale's always been somewhat solid, but Quinnipiac has been a little bit better in the past couple seasons. So I think that it's an interesting matchup because the game against Yale earlier in the season was the first time we saw both teams really evenly matched. I mean, historically, since we've been here, the games have been fairly sided on Quinnipiac's favor, but this was a very evenly matched game. Quinnipiac maybe played the later part of that game better, but Yale probably should have got out of that game with 2 points. So I think just in terms of their defenses and their goaltendings, Yale's been able to establish themselves this season. Alex Lyon is making himself a name for himself as one of the better younger goalies in the ECAC, along with Mitch Gillum and Kyle Hayton as well. So I just think they both lost a lot from those 2 teams that went to the national championship 2 years ago. It took them a little bit more to rebuild last year. I think they're finally hitting their strides, and I think these are 2 of the best, if not the 2 best teams in the ECAC, and it's because of their defenses and goaltending.
And I think a lot of that has to do with experience. You look at Michael Gartic, he's obviously just a junior, and then Alex Lyon, just a sophomore, but the defense itself is very experienced. 4 of the top 6 for Yale are upperclassmen. They only have 2 underclassmen there. And then the Bobcats, yeah, they start 3 sophomores, or play 3 sophomores rather on defense, but they are all sophomores that played a ton last year. So they had to learn on the fly. So to me, they're not really sophomores. They play more like juniors and seniors. And then, of course, you've got guys like Alex Barron, Dan Federico, and Justin Augustus. So the experience is there, and that's why. And both teams are a little bit less experienced at the forward position, and I think that's what creates such mismatches for them against other teams, is that they have so much experience and depth in the behind that blue line, it's almost impossible to break through.
And even going past the defense, both coaches want all 5 of their players playing defense in that defensive zone, or else they're going to make you hear it.
All right, now I want you guys to give me some keys for the game. Marty, how about you start off for Yale?
Well, I think for Yale, we just talked about it, the first period for Quinnipiac has been a struggle. You look at the game against St. Lawrence, and even going back to the game at Ingles against Yale earlier in the season, if Yale can find a way to capitalize on those scoring opportunities early in that first period, that's a different game. If St. Lawrence could capitalize on those opportunities last weekend, that could be a different game as well. So Yale needs to get pucks to the net and find ways to convert. If they can get a 2-3 goal lead at any point of this game, they're going to win the game. So I think especially in the first period, before Quinnipiac gets their legs going, I think they need to capitalize and get some goals and shots in early.
But you know what? I think for QU, it's a lot about the neutral zone. You could say that about any team, really, but I don't know if there's a team that I've seen that depends more on their neutral zone play than the Bobcats, because if they struggle getting through the neutral zone, if they can't get to the offensive blue line, they're in trouble. It happens all the time. First period against St. Lawrence, first period against Clarkson last weekend, just like Marty was saying, they had nothing going on. Then all of a sudden it clicks. They're able to get through the neutral zone cleanly. And as soon as they take that blue line with speed, Matt Pekka, Landon Smith, Sam Annis, Soren Janssen, those guys, they're hard to catch up to. And if they start flying past you, then you start to play catch up. Then they cycle their lines. You have tired legs. They have fresh legs. Next thing you know, you're behind by 3. Maybe you take a penalty. Then give them the power play. Sam Annis plays all 2 minutes of that, of course. That's why he's leading the nation with power play goals. He's out there the whole time. So it's tough. It's tough if you can't stop them from getting through the neutral zone.
Yeah, I've been saying that for all 4 years. When they get through the neutral zone cleanly, they're a dominant team. Look what they did to Yale last season in the playoffs when they were able to make Yale play that catch-up kind of hockey. They tired out their defense. Almost every single one of their goals came from right in front of Alex Lyon. So if they can do that, it could be a long night for Yale too.
All right. On Monday, the opportunity to talk to Sam Annis about what he expects from the game. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Nothing too specific. Just sometimes the bounces come, and I think it's just going to be, chances are Friday night will be a 1-goal game, and hopefully we'll have that 1-goal edge.
All right, now do you guys agree with what Sam is saying, that there's the possibility of this being a close game, or do you think it's going to be more one-sided or for either team?
I think it's going to be a closer game because I think just going off of what we saw earlier in the season between these two teams, they're a little bit different compared to teams in the past. They are probably strongly built defensively, and both have really strong goaltending. And you look at the game on paper a couple weeks ago, it was literally on paper the most evenly matched game they played all season. Shots were the same, goals were the same. Bounces could have went a little bit way in Yale's favor, maybe came out on top. But I think other than that, it's gonna be a 1, maybe 2-goal game. I think if it does, for some reason, go in one team's favor, blowout-wise, I think it would be Quinnipiac just the way they played in the past. But I think it will be a closer, maybe another tie, maybe another 1-goal game.
Yeah, I'm with Marty. I could definitely see another tie. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm looking probably for a 1-goal game if I had to pick. And like Marty said, I think if it gets away from either team, it'll get away from Yale, and Quinnipiac will take advantage. And that just has a lot to do with the fact that we've seen Quinnipiac's ability to score 2, 3, 4 times in a short period of time. And I haven't seen that out of Yale a whole lot. We talked about their defense, but they don't have that explosiveness that Quinnipiac has. But I'm looking for another low-scoring, close game. And I think if it does get up there into the 4 or 5s, that also favors QU. And I know, Gabby, we can't make any predictions, but before we sign off, we were looking for a prediction out of you. QU Yale, who's going to take the victory?
I think Sam is right. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the pace of the game has to be dictated in that first 20. I think what you're going to see out of the first 20 is going to be the big deciding factor in all of this. I'm going to say there's a real chance for a tie or a 1-goal game. So I'm not going to give out specifics, although we might very well see a 2-2 tie again with these two teams. All right, guys, that's all we have time for. For more on this game, for the Yale game during the week, follow us on Twitter at Q30 Sports and on our website at Q30television.com. For Mark Spillane and Marty Joseph, I'm Gabbi Riggi. Take care, everyone.